What else do we have on the farm now? Plant that in there, we can jump out. So in here we have all of our grass tending equipment, windrower, class mowing kit, class baler, and this is the pickup trailer. So when bales are on the back of that, they can go through hedges because they're just images. Here we have our Fendt Favorite 800, which is loaded with a front loader, and on the back is a field harrow for weeding. It's not a very big one, but because weeds don't infest fields 100% when you're running seasons, it's not an issue. I've got a Lindner 130 from the Alpine pack, and this weight is a mod weight which you can take into the workshop and add and remove plates to increase the weight. Mod bale fork, because everybody needs to be able to pick up 4 bales on a tractor this size, and standard in-game front loader arms. Use that because it's 4-wheel steer, so it can get around the farm quite nicely. I got this because the DEF barrels I bought don't unload into tractors. There's the Fendt front loader arms. Ivor Williams flatbed trailer, usually hitched to the Land Rover, which is another mod that we're running. Our supplies of herbicide, seed, and I think that's solid fertilizer. We've got some more herbicide over here. These used to use this stuff on the silage bunker. Two cuts a year I would put into the silage bunker and sell to the BGA in order to make digestate. So these were handy to load the truck, and this was handy to prevent the tractor getting stuck, which is quite a common event. That's most of the stuff on this side. We do have our bale stores are in the shed just up here. So as I said, we've got about 62 bales here, which is going to last us about 6 months, and that's all of the wool production for the last 2 days of spring. Best price for selling wool comes on the last day of mid-spring. Around here we've got nothing. That's another silage bunker, which is handy to have, but since I'm not running cows on this farm, it's not something I'm interested in. The AGCO is a mod. I do like this one. This one has 360-degree lighting. I've got in the Axion. The Axion is another mod by the same guy who did the Fendt, the Favorite 800 that we're running. So if I can get close enough to that, there we go. So if I turn the lights on this, you've got your standard front lights, your rear work lights, but then when you go full work lights, you can see you've got a left and right one. This is a really nice tractor to work night times, because it does give you very bright coverage all around. The class doesn't have that. I've got a Fendt harvester, and then down in the lower field we've got a couple of new buildings and trailers. We've got a low loader, Bailey grain trailer, which I use for carting off the fields. That hitches up to the truck, which I didn't show you. I have an X tractor here for wrapping bales and does the square ones. Silage spreader, beet harvester, Johnston trailer. This is another mod. The what would you call that? The cattle or the animal module on the back comes off it, so you can pull it away as a flatbed. You then have the option of adding these to it, which turns it into a bale trailer and will stop the bales rolling off. And this one, these here are for sort of side struts to do logging, prevent the logs falling off. We've got helianthus header for sunflowers, regular header for grain crops, a cultivator which needs to be washed. In here I have a seeder for all the normal stuff. Because we do sugar beets, you have to plough after sugar beets. I have a regular plough, and you need something the size of the Challenger or the Class 940 to haul that thing. I've got a small planter. This is frustrating because it doesn't have a very big seed tank, and I have a huge spreader. This is really just used for lime. I don't generally use it for fertilizer because you can't put narrow tyres on it, so it squashes the crops. That is everything down here, and I am going to beam back up to the main yard rather than walk up there, because why not? Let's go to the lime station. Okay, let's not go to the lime station. Let's go to here. Where am I? I'm at the pig farm. Well, that was completely unintentional. Okay, farm silo. So, farm silo currently empty. We sold all those crops off. The other piece of equipment we do have is the MAN truck. This is a black sheep modding truck. Comes as a 6-wheeler with a couple of modules you can stick on the back. So I run the tipper. You can detach that, and it then becomes a semi. So you can take that off and pull forward. I can now attach the low loader or the Flegel tipper to it. Now the Flegel tipper has a lot more carrying capacity, so I will typically use that most of the time. But the old store up here, you can't get a big rig into that yard easily and tip, so I run the truck with the tip. Oh, we still need to fertilise that field. I keep forgetting I bought that field. I think we've got time to do it. Let's go. Yeah, I've had, for the first 2 years, we've had issues with the grass. In winter it dies and then doesn't re-establish itself. And that's happened both at the end of, or spring of year 2 and spring of year 3. So I have to, plough the field in and then replant it. That's a problem, especially when I'm looking at, I need 120 bales of hay per year, and then any extra I can make for silage and making digestate is also a good thing. So I've lost, I usually expect to get 2 full cuts of grass and then a partial per year, and obviously losing the entirety of spring, we're only going to get 2 cuts of grass from our main fields. And as soon as I realised that, I ploughed them in, I replanted them, and I bought this field, and I've been using what would be the cow pasture if I had cows to supplement the grass at the beginning of the year. But since I've now bought this field, I should probably take care of it. As I say, I don't think that's going to hit the hedge. And also buying this field means I can now get into my crop of wheat easily. I don't have to travel round the road to get there. Consideration to buy the field in front of us down to the river. I could do that. I haven't yet, and I don't have the cash to do it right now. Although, as arguments go, I'm perfectly happy borrowing money to buy land. I do not recommend borrowing money to buy equipment, because equipment loses value. So if you find I'm strapped for cash, I can't sell the equipment and pay off the loan. I can sell the land to pay off the loan. So I could sell this plot of ground and completely pay off the bank, or I can keep it because it's additional income. Okay, so that's that field sprayed. Catch that corner and done. Okay, so we are done there. I might leave that gate open now. Yeah, we're okay. We don't have cows, so it's not like I have rampant cows running through the wheat or something. I did leave that open, didn't I? Yeah. I'll shut that one. I'm semi-good. They will keep the gates closed. Back into there. Engine off, jump out. So I think, as far as game day goes, we're kind of done, so I'm going to run it up to about 8 o'clock. Around about there. And we'll go in the house, we'll take a sleep, and we'll get started on next day. So, midsummer tomorrow. I'm not tired. Of course I am. Yes, the thing with seasons is you have to wait till nightfall before you can use the sleep trigger. Might also be a catch point of 9 o'clock as well, I'm not entirely sure. I suppose you can test that when it's summer and the sun doesn't go down till 11 o'clock at night. There we go. So it's 9 o'clock. We'll go to 7. Oh, raining. Actually, rain's a good thing because your crops can die from lack of water. So the fact that the crop moisture is now up means that we will suffer less crop failure. Back out here, we will do that. And I think first things first, we'll take the Fent out and see if we can do the fields. So yeah, this Fent by Smetty, CMT software. I used a lot of his mods. He does mod tractors for the most part, but I used a lot of his mods in law folds in Farm Sim 17. We bought over the class Axion from that farm, and when Giants announced class were going to be the Platinum expansion, Smetty was oh, but that's my thing, and now Giants have taken it away from me. So he branched out and started working on older Fent models, which also the same high quality I come to respect him for from his class tractors in 17. More recently, he has gone back to producing class tractors. He's got the Zerion 4000 and 5000 models, and what he's doing is, rather than producing modern day equipment, he's going back 10, 20 years and producing, you know, models from 2000 or 2010, and so they're not the same as the Platinum DLC models. They have the same names, but they're not the same model. But for the most part, I found his tractors to be very, very good. They do what they're supposed to do. And back in 17, they were the best class tractors available. I had decided I was going to feature class on that. We had the Lexion 780, I believe, as our big harvester. Trust me, we needed a big harvester on Lawfolds. This farm, we've not got there yet. We've got the Fendt, which meets our needs, although we did just add a 23 acre field to the farm this spring, which is going to make harvest a little bit more hectic, but still the harvester is good enough for the land we have. When we get to a point where, okay, now we're pushed for time, I'll either have to get a second harvester and use workers on it, or just get a bigger harvester. We'll probably keep the Fendt because we have that annoyingly small field at the top end, just past the grass field. That's quite a restrictive field. It's not very big, and having a huge harvester on it doesn't really work well. This field here is big, has huge access point, so it's not a field I'm particularly concerned about when it comes to, hey, let's get some big equipment and use it. I could jump over. Let's do a jump. So this is the place it's not a good idea to bring a big rig to, basically because of the width of that, and that turn in is horrible and there's no way to turn around. But this field here has a fence along the edge of it and a small opening at the top. And it's one saving grace. This is, you have to get your turn in right, or you can snag either side. But it does have this big preparation area, so you can bring in a header and position it, and then bring in the harvester and connect it. So it's not a bad thing, but what were we driving? We're driving the Fendt. But it's not something I really want to bring in a huge harvester, because that would be a little bit more challenging. And the small one's good enough. I mean, that size field you can do with a small harvester in a matter of minutes, so I'm not too worried about that one. Anyway, down to the lower grass field. So we can leave the weeding to alternate days. So if I just say the first day of midsummer, the first day of late summer, the first day of fall, early fall, and we just do the weeding on those days, that should be adequate. And it does mean I don't have to come down and spread chemicals on the field, which for seasons is a problem. The thing is you cut grass and it has a stage of fertilizer on it, but with seasons you have 3 stages of fertilization to get it fully fertilized, and during the growth of grass there is only enough time for 2 chemical applications. And so you can either put herbicide once and fertilizer once, so you only get 66% fertilized, or you can go 2 stages of fertilizer, but then your weeds are a problem. Now at the moment our weeds aren't significantly a problem, but when you're cutting it 3 times a year, all of a sudden by the end of the year you've got quite a sizable amount of weeds on the field, and now it's a problem because I'm losing 15% yield every location that there's weeds. So this year I figured this might be our saving grace, use mechanical weeding equipment. The issue is you can only use this equipment on fledgling weeds, so if these weeds had flowers on the top, then nope, you're done. No weeding for you. But right now I can run these up and just pull them out. It doesn't damage the grass, and you don't need a full application of herbicide on a field like this. And I kind of feel that sort of spot weeding, it's not as cost effective, especially not considering the size of our our sprayer. You're spraying over an entire field. Those crops look like they could be herbicided, so we might get the voucher out and do that later. But this seems, it's a laborious task. The problem is you have to do this regularly, because as soon as the weeds are big enough to have flowers on, the weeder doesn't work. So you have to come back every couple of days and do this. However, it does mean that I can always achieve 100% fertilisation on the grass field and still have no weeds. Good there. You still have to, there's some it's playing spot the weeds. Obviously the thicker the grass gets, the harder it is to spot, although there is a different shade of green there, so it's not impossible to see, unless you're colourblind. In that case it might be. In the case of my dad, you would be seeing red grass and red weeds, and that can be a problem. And we went for this weeder because it's about the width of the tractor, and really with seasons running, as I said, you don't get a full, the entire field covered in weeds, so it's relatively easy to just drive up to a patch and pull them out and drive on. Obviously, regular game you get 100% weed coverage. 3 times per crop growth. It sometimes feels like that you need the full-size weeder. Okay, I'll leave that gate open because we're going to come back and herbicide the sunflowers later. We now need to do the field at the other side of the cow pastures. The cow pasture doesn't get weeds because it's not a ploughed field, it's just what some people call map grass. I call, what do I call it? I call it a pasture because it hasn't been ploughed, so it's just naturally occurring grass like you find on the side of the road as well. Whereas field grass is, you plough the field, you planted grass in intentionally, and that allows you to treat it with chemicals and all sorts of wonderful stuff. Anyway, I might just leave this gate open because it's going to be easier to drive through.
cooking now?
What's the time? Yeah, okay. One.
Yeah, one? Okay. I'll get the one with dipped in chocolate.
Okay. I'm kind of surprised that the hay didn't entirely decay here. Because we did have rainfall overnight and that causes hay to decay. But yeah, a couple more rainstorms, there won't be any hay left on this field. Of course, the other thing I can do is just drag this over it, and it makes it all go away. Anyway, let's find the weeds. Weeds, there they are. Squelch. Actually, that's quite an impressive patch. So again, it's not a significant spread of weeds, so we're kind of good here. I think I missed one. And there you go, all the weeds dealt with. It's kind of looking like it's ready, but it's midsummer, so we've got to wait 2 more days before crops become, or start becoming ready to harvest. I'll stick this in the shed by the Lindner, and we will check the sheep. I usually back in, and that's probably an English thing. Oh, we do have these as well. So, front loader, pallet fork and Biobelt's LF180 logging fork. And the reason I prefer this one is these 2 prongs here make it far more stable than the in-game one that's only got 3. Okay, sheeps. Sheeps need 2 bales of hay and not a lot else, so I guess we can do that now. That's a low angle. So yeah, the whole 4-wheel steer thing of the Lindner. Before we got this one, we had the Lindner 90. But as soon as the Alpine DLC came out, they switched it up. The 90 is a little bit lighter than this, and I mean, it's good. The 4-wheel steering helps, but it doesn't. It gets unbalanced very easily when doing something like this. Which is why we've got about 2,000 kilo weight on the back of this tractor, and again, I'm not sure that's particularly realistic and whether we'd actually break the tractor with something that heavy. Now these things here actually spawn at the trough, and you have to position the pipe and then position this as well. So I position this out here, so I don't have to go in the field every time I want to add water to the trough. The thing is I do, but pretty much always end up in the field, but I don't have to. Okay, retract that. And that. And yeah, enough room for another batch of, or another bale of hay, so we're good. As I said, I could sweep up that grass, but frankly it really doesn't hurt much of anything. Sheep are just eating right now, and so I'm not losing wool production. I'm not... their health is suffering, but as soon as we get to late fall, we'll start keeping that area clean because they start producing new sheep. A couple of anomalies in the ground on the way into the yard. Does make this bounce around a little. So that's 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh, that's right. Herbicide for the sunflowers. So again, we're going to be what are we going to do? Going to be using the GPS. Whoops.